Hello and welcome to the Contradictions Book Tag. I'm sure you guys are aware of this tag, but if you're not, it's all about contradictions. Talking about things that you typically love but didn't this time, or things that you don't typically like but did this time. Number 1, I love this genre but didn't like this book. My pick for this one is Neanderthal King by Matt Ward. It's pitched as Game of Thrones with Neanderthals. I didn't read a ton of it because I ended up DNFing it. It reminded me a lot of Eye of the World, but not executed as well. The first chapter had a lot of characters, but we didn't get to know them very well. So when bad things start happening and the story starts going, I didn't have much reference to go off of who these characters were. And they just ended up being kind of names floating around. And when the main character gets to the city, he spends a lot of time describing dresses which he's never seen before, which in a way is kind of cool, but as a reader, knowing what a dress is, I got really bored really fast, and that's actually when I just said, I'm out. Number 2, I rarely read this genre, but I love this book. I typically stay within speculative fiction genres. However, as I was growing out of YA and hadn't really found a new fantasy or sci-fi, like adult fantasy or sci-fi that I actually like, I started getting into thriller a little bit more. The one that I think about the most was SEAL Team 6, Hunt of the Wolf, by Don Mann and Ralph, I'm gonna mess this up, Pizzulo. The thing that stood out to me about SEAL Team 6 is that in a lot of thrillers, the book goes from beginning to end. You are really stuck in this intense, complex plot. However, SEAL Team 6 takes breaks. They go and climb Everest and do these epic things that gives you a chance to breathe from the thriller, but it doesn't take away from the thriller aspect of the story. Number 3, I love this trope, but I didn't like this book. A common trope in a lot of thrillers is your jack of all trades character. I love this trope because these characters are so interesting. They surprise you at every moment, but because they're jack of all trades, they basically never surprise you. It's this weird paradox that is fascinating and super enjoyable to read. A book that used this trope that I didn't like and didn't finish was called Fire with Fire by Charles E. Gannon. Honestly, there is a possibility that I'll finish it sometimes in the future. I've been thinking about it some lately and just remembering some of the things that I liked about it. The thing that I ended up not liking about this book was that there were huge gaps in the timeline, and in order to catch us up, there had to be a lot of explanation. Number 4, I hate this trope, but I love this book. This trope is going to be the Chosen One prophecy. I actually like the Chosen One trope, but I hate the prophecy trope. Often the prophecy trope seems forced, but a story that used the prophecy trope so well and in very, very interesting ways was Mistborn. I'm not going to get into why on this one because it is kind of spoilery, but if you've read Mistborn Era 1, Brandon Sanderson is a freaking genius. Number 5, I like this author, but I didn't like this book. Oh, I originally wrote down I can't think of any, but I just thought of one. This author is Chris Heimerdinger. He writes mainly historical fantasy where characters from our time period go back in time to important religious moments. He has this really long series that's about as long as the Wheel of Time that I have really enjoyed. However, he started a spin-off series. There's a character that's Mexican. Just the way this guy talked, the things that he said just seemed like a cardboard cutout of some really nasty stereotypes, and I just didn't like it. Number 6, I previously disliked a book by this author, but I like this one. My answer for this one is no second chances. I couldn't think of anything for this one either, and honestly, I really don't think that I have given an author a second chance. So instead, I'm gonna answer, who would I be willing to give a second chance? I think I would be willing to give Neil Gaiman a second chance if I got a really good pitch. So those of you guys who like Neil Gaiman, pitch me in the comments, but not American Gods, that's the one I DNF'd. Number 7, I love this cover, but I didn't like this book. Immediately, I thought of Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade. Seriously, this cover is just so beautiful. But the book, it's a different story. I did an entire read-along for Fate of the Fallen, so instead of talking about why I didn't like it here, you guys can check out that playlist. I'll leave it in the description below. Number 8, I didn't like the cover, but I did like this book. My choice for this one is Crónica de una muerte anunciada. In English, that's Chronicle of a Foretold Death by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. My cover is literally just a bunch of leaves, and honestly, I finished the book and didn't really have a clue what the leaves had to do with anything. The book was awesome. It was set up in a way, sort of like a reporter going through town, talking to people, trying to find out what happened. All right, let's tag. First off, I was tagged by Jessie May, not officially, but whatever, I'm counting it. I'll link her channel down in the description. The original tag was done by Only If for a page that's also in the description. And my tags are going out to Pablo Suarez, Sphinx Reads, and a couple books. I left links to the description. Check out their channels, give them some love, subscribe, like their videos, and I'm okay with this too. You know, liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and sticking around and clicking on another video. As always, thanks for joining my adventure.